In the next 100 years, the face of humanity will change, and new technologies will irrevocably transform what it means to be human, as well as how we conduct ourselves in the world and go about our business. To gain insight into these changes, we present to you the following humanity-changing things that will occur in the next 100 years. 3D printing already exists on a limited scale, but what the future holds with regards to this goes far beyond the current boundaries and applications of this technology. Needless to say, 3D printing just won't be a thing, it will be the thing in terms of copying and replication technology. The technical term for 3D printing is additive manufacturing, and in the future, we will see it on every corner, and it will be even more common than paper printers are today. Police will employ 3D printed mugshots of criminals generated from their DNA. 3D printed models of babies in mothers' wombs will become common. Custom printed clothes, women's makeup, and more will all be part of this. Let's say you want a copy of a pair of shoes you have. Well, in the future, it will be as easy as copying documents at the printers. Cars are an abundant transportation resource, particularly in the United States, where in the vast majority of places, you cannot get anywhere without having a license and owning a car. But that dependency carries with it extreme risks. In the year 2015, for example, there were 35,092 automobile-related deaths, and in earlier years, there were even more. Human fallibility plays an enormous role in car accidents, as humans are far from perfect, require food, sleep, and are just naturally prone to error. Well, Google has already been working on self-driving cars for years now, and the future in this area is both bright and dark. Automated driving will be an inevitable part of our future, as AI drivers require neither sleep nor rest nor food or anything else of this sort. The positive aspect of this is that there will be far fewer, if any, accidents, as the factor of human weakness and fallibility will no longer be in play. But the negative aspect to this is that entire industries requiring humans to drive vehicles will be forever changed, as tens of thousands of people will be laid off and put out of work forever, ceding their human weakness over to superior AI drivers. In the ensuing decades, virtual reality will not just be an appendage to the reality we know and live in, but it will become the ultimate reality that is fully integrated into our lives. There will be VR dating sites where all stats, be they appearance, income, or anything else, can be drawn up in VR detail. Video games as we know them will forever be changed, as each and every game will be personalized and appear realer than life itself. Films will make the biggest advances as VR becomes a staple of the industry and the audience becomes integrated into the film in ways never dreamt of before. There is, of course, some risk to all of this, as the VR world might ultimately become more appealing than the so-called real world, and people might begin to neglect their health and well-being. But regardless, the march of time is inevitable, and so is the technology that comes along with it. You might visit a dietitian these days and get what is sometimes called a tailor-made diet, but the truth is that in the future our understanding of metabolism, and above all, individual metabolic processes, will be so great and so precise that diets and nutritional advice will be perfectly aligned to your own body, metabolism, and within that framework, preferences, guaranteed to work as long as you follow the guidelines. Until that time, diets will be iffy hit-or-miss endeavors characterized by trial and error. Beyond this, and more important, is that medicine will be personalized at the level of the genome, with patients' entire medical profiles being uploaded onto huge databases and documented in the most detailed manner. No longer will doctors have to guess, as it will always be known. Many people have heard of the now retired Concorde airplane, the only commercial airplane to have flown at supersonic speeds. It was hugely effective at getting people from New York to London and Paris in just under 3 hours. But ultimately, due to the attacks of 9/11, a very well-documented crash, and just poor financial performance, it was retired from service in favor of the slow jumbo jets that have been the mainstay of aviation for 5 decades now. But there are things to look forward to in the future. Cost, noise, and fuel efficiency have all been issues in the past. But in the not-too-distant future, much of this can be solved. Rather than supersonic, aviation engineers are aiming at hypersonic travel and altitudes that could potentially put passengers near the stratosphere, all with the goal of getting people from A to B that much faster. In the current year, a flight from London to Sydney can take an entire day, but imagine it taking less than 4 hours. That is what the future holds, and many of you viewing this will live to experience it. Vegans and vegetarians will be able to breathe a sigh of relief in the future because it is an almost certainty that laboratory-created synthetic food, above all meat, will be available for public purchase and consumption. The advantages of foods, and specifically meats that are cooked up in the laboratory, are many. There are no longer any ethical concerns regarding the harm of animals, so people concerned about that could eat meat in good conscience. Mass production of wholesome, nutritional food will be easier, cheaper, and more effective than conventional farming and livestock rearing. And finally, scientists will be able to specify the exact nutritional components of each type of food, tailoring it to the customer's needs. Automated driving is one thing, and many people think that this is something reasonable and sure. People will lose work, but it is just a few different sectors, right? The truth is that AI will not just be any factor, but the factor that will change the face and shape of the employment landscape in the coming decades. AI will become so creative, flexible, and crafty that even jobs regarded as traditionally being inoculated against the intrusion of AI will not be spared. These include, but are not limited to, secretarial work, medicine, programming, music and art, translation, and much, much more, which means that a whole lot of people, even the smartest people, will be out of work because AI will be smarter, more creative, and above all, tireless and more efficient than any human worker ever could be, which leads us to the next inevitable development. Because AI will be replacing otherwise intelligent and capable workers, in addition to unintelligent and incapable workers, governments around the world will see the necessity of UBI, or Universal Basic Income, as a means of not only maintaining their respective populaces, but also, and perhaps primarily, as a means of staving off open rebellion and political chaos. At the same time, there will be difficulty in procuring tax revenue as people will no longer be in a position to earn a living, and thus most likely, the very wealthy and richest people will be overtaxed, possibly leading to capital flight and other dangerous outcomes. But the truth is that some form of UBI will be a necessity if upwards of 70% of people are put out of work due to the coming onslaught of AI. UBI is coming sooner than you think, so brace yourselves. Genetic engineering is already available in certain forms, but there is more to it. CRISPR-Cas9 is a genetic engineering technique that makes use of the cellular machinery that bacteria use to recognize and edit the DNA of harmful viruses. It has 2 key components: Cas9, an enzyme that can cut a double DNA strand at a very precise point, nick it or block its gene expression, and CRISPR, a short strand of RNA, a chemical messenger. The CRISPR helps guide the Cas9 enzyme to bind with a specific sequence on the genome, where it will make a specific cut. CRISPR is the beginning of a complete revolution of human evolution, in that it will be implemented in successive waves to address many biological limitations afflicting human beings. It will begin with the treatment of rare genetic disorders, then move to more common ones, and then move on from there to cosmetic and athletic enhancement. The final application will be to genetically manipulate humans such that their intelligence is enhanced beyond current limitations. This is not a question of if, but of when. Amidst the boundless optimism of future developments in technology is something that always looms on the horizon, like a poisonous vine sapping the strength from the greater garden. Whatever progress we make, however much technology pushes us in new directions, we will likely always remain the stupid, instinct-driven apes we have always been, and this has been a recipe for disaster in the past, and will probably be an even greater liability in the future, because the truth is that in the next 100 years, we are likely not going to be able to survive as a species due to a range of possibilities, including destruction of the atmosphere, war, celestial collisions such as asteroids, over-reliance on fossil fuels, and a host of other possibilities. So live it up for now, because you and your offspring might not be around that much longer. For more top lists just like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out our other lists. And thanks for watching, and thanks for learning.